This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Stop what you're doing. Sit down. We are going to be talking about David and his manager, Josh Marshall, and you need to hear this information. David also made a social media post. I don't know if it was intentional or by accident. Does he use an alt account? We're going to be talking about his alter ego, Tommy, and the masked movers. I enhanced and upgraded those photos to try to see who they are, and proof that David was deleting evidence. And then we have another bizarre and new connection between David and Celeste. And we're going to talk about the significance. We know that they had matching Shhh tattoos, Celeste and David, but we're going to talk about the significance of those tattoos and new social media posts by David. And you guys asked me about the Tesla key card. We'll briefly go over that. But we have a lot of stuff to unpack. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, stop what you're doing, and let's get started. Let's talk about it. Today, everything I'm sharing is my opinion. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. If you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, it's free. Please subscribe. Like, share, drop me a comment, and let's go ahead and get started. I just wanted to give it a second so people could have a chance to get in here. So while David was touring around the country holding mock funerals with a casket on his stage, Celeste was found in the trunk of his Tesla in a Hollywood parking lot, a Hollywood impoundment lot. So let's talk about the fact that David moved out of his mansion that was being rented in the name of his manager, Josh Marshall. And I have some new information on Josh Marshall today, too. So Josh Marshall was allegedly emailed about Celeste. And we're going to talk about that because I believe that arrests are coming in this case. So I know there's been a lot of speculation that Celeste's family must have done something wrong if she was repeatedly running away. It's very possible, but I think it's also worth considering that so she wasn't running away from her family. She was running to David, and that she was being lured and enticed to be with David. So let's talk about the masked movers. Remember those? And look at enhanced photos of these men. What were they doing? And then we're going to talk about David's alter ego, Tommy. I'm going to explain what that is and share with you a little bit about that and how that pertains to Celeste. We're also going to talk about proof that David was actively deleting evidence of his relationship with Celeste, proof. And we're going to talk about another bizarre and new connection between David and Celeste. And I want to talk about the significance of those Shhh tattoos. Not just that they had them. I want to talk about what they mean. And then we're going to talk about the new social media card. All right, so let's start with the masked movers. Let me pull them up. So you will recall that we had these masked movers that were outside of his home. And you can see them there with their masks on. And if you look right here in the corner, you can see that there is a camera that is set up in the corner of this. And I did go ahead and enhance the photos. I want to show you. There's one guy and he's masked and he's wearing glasses. And the other guy is masked, wearing a baseball cap and glasses. So why did they feel the need to wear a mask? Well, let's talk about it. So these two men, and I'm assuming they are security guards and maybe part of David's entourage, were standing outside the home with a video camera aimed at the front door as the movers, and I just want to show you the receipts, the movers did not have masks on. Okay. They did not. You can see this man is one of the movers. He clearly does not have a mask on, just the security guards and this camera. So who was watching at the other end of the camera? I think we can guess. So we have these movers, we have these two security guards, and what the video footage shows is that these two masked men are pacing back and forth outside of David's former home while movers are loading up boxes and furniture into the moving truck. Now, they were described as, quote, providing a private security detail for the move. And why would a move need a private security detail? And why, in one case, was the guy wearing a protective vest with a badge? What was up with that? Why would you need that? Why would you need a protective vest with a badge? And you can see his badge on the guy right here that's closest to me. You can see he's wearing a vest and a badge in this photo. So what was really going on, and who was behind this video camera, you guys? So we have a video camera videotaping the movers as they're moving everything out. Who was watching on the video camera, and why? Why not simply move out? Or if, he wanted his security guys to look after it, they could just look after it. Why did we need a video camera set up? Who was at the other end of that feed? I think we can guess that it was probably David, in my opinion. So I think this moving out of the house served a very nefarious purpose. It doesn't matter whether David would have kept the house or wouldn't have kept the house. It could have just been that Josh, his manager, was cutting ties with him, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that what this footage shows with the bodyguards, I think there was stuff in that house that law enforcement didn't have a search warrant for yet. And I think there was concern that they would come back with another search warrant. And by moving out of the house, it serves multiple purposes. One, they can claim that any body fluids or anything like that happened after they moved out of the house, if anything is found, and any belongings that tied David to Celeste. And I'm going to show you a new connection in just a second. But any belongings between David and Celeste that connected them would also have been removed from the house. And we're going to talk about the weight difference between Celeste, who weighed 120 pounds, and yet her remains, which only weighed 71 pounds. We're going to talk about that in just a second, too. So the footage shows these two masked men moving and unloading stuff. And the footage was captured during this hasty move that, they just showed up with a truck and movers and just moved out David out of his house. So this occurred right after law enforcement served a search warrant on this house. So why was this significant? Well, the release of the video following the news of the LAPD search warrant and raid of David's residence, this shows that the investigation into David would have been of a very big concern, in my opinion, to either Josh Marshall, David, or someone in the entourage. However, Josh Marshall is the David's manager. His name was on the lease, and David was the one who was living there. And apparently Josh was living there too, which I think is a huge red flag for Celeste. There is no way a 13, 14-year-old should be living in the same house with two fully grown adult men and a minor. So based off the information and the fact that they hired these guys, and one guy was wearing a vest with a badge, they wouldn't show their faces. They were being masked up. Let's look at and consider what we know about the weight of Celeste when she was found in the Tesla. We have been told that what they found in the Tesla weighs around 71 pounds. Well, how does that track with what Celeste's family has said? They have said she weighed closer to 121 pounds, but they hadn't seen her. She'd been missing since April of 2024. That is a drastic amount of weight to lose. So what was really going on like that? Were there pieces of her that simply weren't in that trunk? Or had she not been given food over a long period of time? Was there something nefarious going on there. So let's talk about the proof that David was deleting evidence, and then we're going to talk about David's alter ego, Tommy, and then another bizarre connection, a new one between Celeste and David, the significance, what these tattoos mean, and a new social media post by David in just a moment. So let's start with David was deleting evidence. So a game-changing video, and let me pull that up for you. A game-changing video. And let me share this. Shows David and Celeste together on this video. So this is David and Celeste, but I want you to listen to what he said.
Mods, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
So he is asking his mods to delete all the VODs. And then when they're done with that, could they delete the stream, you guys? So I think this is very, very concerning. This tells me, and this, was shot in January of 2024. So Celeste would have been 13, 12, 13, I think closer to 13. And he ends this live stream in telling his mods to delete this. So this tells me that he was covering up his relationship with Celeste even back then. And I think that he knew how incriminating this was going to be for him with a 13-year-old, with a fully grown man. So why would he want all of this deleted? And in my opinion, as his singing career began to skyrocket, as his music career began to take off, he may have wanted to delete more evidence. And did this include his relationship with Celeste? What do you guys think? Are you watching closely? So let's talk about David's father. Is he helping David? And then we're going to discuss David's alter ego, Tommy, and another bizarre connection between Celeste and David and the significance. We know they had Shhh tattoos, but what did they mean? And then a new social media post by David. So we have new information as to why David is remaining silent. And as the LAPD continues its probe into what happened to Celeste with no arrest yet, the expertise of David's father is coming to light. So let's talk about that. So David's father has been revealed as being, let me move myself out of the way so you guys can see it, is being revealed as a litigation support manager. So he has ties to the legal community. His name is David Burke Sr. Obviously, David was named after his dad. He has a degree in business administration, focusing on computer information systems. As a litigation support manager, he oversees technological and operational support for legal teams, particularly in civil litigation. He specializes in e-discovery, processes of identifying and analyzing electronic data, and for legal cases, managing large volumes of documents and using case management software. Now, David's father is not a licensed attorney. He cannot practice law, but his background in working with technology and with attorneys is probably why David is not speaking out, why David is probably cooperating with law enforcement to the bare minimum that he has to, but not willing to sit down, at least not to our knowledge, with law enforcement or give any statements. I mean, think about it. David has not even come out and said a single word of empathy to Celeste's family, right? So I think that although his dad is not an attorney, I think the fact that he has this association and works closely with attorneys would have given David an advantage in working with the LAPD, maybe an advantage that other people would not have had. And so this is why I believe we saw these masked men moving the stuff out of the house that David shared with his manager. And is this why that camera was stationed outside the house? Was David on the other end of that looking for something specific that he wanted to come out of his mansion? So was somebody trying to make sure that the LAPD didn't get something specific out of that house? What do you guys think? Are you watching closely? So another bizarre connection between Celeste and David. Let's talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the significance of the Shhh tattoos and the new social media post that David made. I think it was accidental. Let me know if you have a different take on it. But let's talk about this connection. Okay, let me move myself. So you can see this is Celeste. I don't think anybody can look at this picture and say, oh yeah, clearly, she's in college. I don't think so. But you can see this is David on the other side of the screen. So Celeste is right above me and David is over here. And you can see that David is wearing a blue wig. I think it's the same wig. If you look at the way the bangs are cut and you look at the glasses that David is wearing, and then think about the TikTok video that I just showed you. Let me take this down. And you look at the glasses that they're wearing in this video. Make sure you guys can see. You can see that they are wearing these squared looking glasses. That Celeste has a pair and David has a pair. So matching glasses too. And then you take a look at this where they're in this matching wig. And it's just another connection, in my opinion, between David and Celeste. The fact that they're both in these blue wigs. And you can see David in the same glasses that Celeste has on. So they have matching glasses, matching Shhh tattoos, and matching wigs, you guys. So let's talk about the significance of the Shhh tattoos. Because I think this is more than just a coincidence. I think there's significance to the tattoos, in my opinion. So let's talk about that. So the significance of the Shhh tattoos, and then we're going to talk about David's new social media post and his alter ego, IT4MI. But let's talk about the Shhh tattoos, because why would a fully grown man and a 13-year-old get matching tattoos, both on their pointer finger, that say shush? Was there some, and remember, Celeste couldn't legally get a tattoo without her parents' permission. She was only 13. So how did she get this tattoo? Did somebody say that, they were her parent or guardian in that situation? Or did she present a fake ID? And again, I just want to say, I know this idea of her having fake IDs is being thrown out there. I think that this is to muddy the waters. It's to make it seem like, give David some leeway. Oh, I didn't know she had fake IDs, but I'm going to share with you some information that is going to tell you that he did know her age in just a second. So please stay with me. But I think the significance was that they had a secret. And I think that the Shhh tattoos was their pact to keep this relationship a secret, which is why we have the on the pointer finger. I think that we have a rising pop star with a 13 to 14-year-old girl. I don't think she ever saw her 15th birthday. I see people reporting out she was 15. She would have turned 15 the day before she was found, but I don't think she lived to see her 15th birthday. So this Celeste was enough to derail, in my opinion, a budding and promising music career. Remember, David's videos were starting to get millions and millions of views. He was ranking high on Spotify. So let's talk about David's new social media post. We're going to briefly touch on the Tesla key, but I want to also talk about proof that David knew her age. So David has reappeared on social media again this week. Let me show you that. So he has reappeared on social media. And you can see right here, this is on TikTok, and you can see right here, David, it's verified. So it is him. And you could see that I think he was probably has backup accounts that he can watch things and interact with things without being himself, just for anonymity's sake, probably a personal TikTok account. But in this case, I think he forgot he was on that TikTok account and he typed in okay. So he sparked controversy online by commenting okay on a TikTok related to Celeste Rivas's case. He later deleted the comment, but not before somebody grabbed a screenshot of it and reigniting a lot of scrutiny amid the ongoing investigation. Remember, this man has not said one word to Celeste's family, not one word publicly to show, that he cared about Celeste. There's been no statement made. Now, this could be on the advice of attorneys in case things go south. He may not know what to say, or maybe he just doesn't care. Remember, when she was found on December 8th, he went on and performed after that. So, maybe he just doesn't feel anything about it because he already knew about it, allegedly, in my opinion. So people are talking about how careless this is. If he really cared about Celeste, why hasn't he released a statement expressing sympathy to her family, expressing sympathy for Celeste? Maybe light a candle while he's on stage in memory of her. So although this comment by David has been deleted, many are questioning his seemingly nonchalant behavior. That there just does seem to be a callousness and a lack of care on his part. So, I can't say with 100% certainty what the nature of their relationship was, but clearly there are lots of images of him with Celeste. So it's clear that he knew Celeste. He has multiple photos and videos, even though he told his mods to delete the video and delete the stream. Somebody grabbed it. So I just think that in this case, David forgot that he wasn't on his alt account, forgot to switch accounts, and then accidentally commented. What do you guys think? So the TikTok David made features a fan posting, the one that he commented on featured a fan posing with the romantic Homicide, which is one of his songs, Hitmaker, when the photo in the background appeared to show his vanity van with a nameplate that seemed to spell out Celeste's name, you guys. So it seemed to spell out her name on this post that he commented on. So I think that's really, really interesting too. And so his comment to that was, okay. So we know, and you guys asked me about the Tesla key. I'm going to briefly touch on that, but then I'm going to talk about why the IDs, I believe the IDs are fake, who got the fake IDs in my opinion, and also the fact that I do believe that David knew exactly how old Celeste was, and I'm going to tell you why I believe that. But you guys did ask me about this in the last live stream. So there was an ID that was found. I'm sorry, there was a Tesla card. We are going to talk about the IDs in a second. That was discovered in a gutter near the Hollywood Hills home of David. So this is, again, intensifying scrutiny into what happened to Celeste. You can see here, it was found on September 26th by a Reddit user who identified themselves as a neighbor of David. And the individual admitted to picking up the card with their bare hands before realizing they've gotten a lot of criticism, but this was before they realized that there was evidentiary value, and they did ultimately contact the police. So maybe they didn't know what it was, although the fact that they're seeming to point to it at least. But it did draw criticism for touching it, but maybe they weren't sure what it was. Maybe they didn't realize how it related back to the case, but a lot of people did express that handling the card without gloves may have compromised potential fingerprint evidence. Hopefully not. And the neighbor later confirmed that surrendering the card to law enforcement, and said the police had reassured them that their actions would not, I repeat, would not obstruct law enforcement's investigation into this case. So let me just show you the key card really quickly. And you can see it's right here. And to me, it looks like the finger is pointing at it, but it does look like there's another finger tucked behind it like this. So I do believe they are holding the card something like this. So, but they are saying that they are not having any type of problem, that law enforcement said it's not a problem for them to be able to solve the case. I guess we will find out very, very soon. All right, so let's put Celeste back up. So now I want to talk about Josh Marshall, the manager, and the fake IDs. And then we're going to talk about David's alter ego, Itami, in just a moment. So please stay with me. But let's talk about Josh Marshall. So what did Josh Marshall know about Celeste, and when did he know it? Because again, his name was on the lease, and he was allegedly living in the house with David and Celeste. Was there anyone else living in the house? We don't know yet. So this could, some people, Harvey Levin talked about the fact that he thought maybe this was a frame job. Um, that somebody was trying to frame David by putting Celeste into the trunk of his car and putting the car down the street, that it was an effort to frame him. I don't know, but let's talk about Josh Marshall, because he was in that house. And other than David and all of his connections to Celeste, I would think that anybody in David's entourage, anybody in that immediate circle, particularly if somebody was living in the house like Josh Marshall was reportedly, would be a suspect. Maybe not the prime suspect, but a suspect. So David's friends have stated that Celeste possessed multiple fake IDs, right? So that kind of is an effort, in my opinion, to get him off the hook, because then he could say, well, I didn't know she was only 13. They said they thought she was 19. However, SF Investigates, private investigator Steve Vischer, emphasized that neither David or his manager, Josh Marshall, can claim ignorance in the matter of knowing what Celeste's real age was. And I believe that the fact that David was telling his mods to delete that stream where he's on camera with Celeste, the fact that he was, so according to PI Steve Vischer, the manager Josh was informed in 2024. So this is when Celeste was 13 years old, that Celeste had been reported missing. You will recall that she was reported missing multiple times. She was reported missing multiple times, and she was picked up at the house and brought back to her family. So PI Steve Vischer said, quote, I spoke with someone who alerted Josh Marshall's team back then, so not just Josh Marshall, but his team back then, that Celeste was a missing teenager. Shortly afterwards, she returned home only to run away again. Josh cannot claim, this is according to private investigator Steve Vischer. He's a licensed professional. He says Josh cannot claim that he was unaware that Celeste was an underage runaway. So in my opinion, we may see more than one arrest in this case. Maybe not related to the fact that she was found in the trunk, but at the very least, the fact that she was living in this house with these two grown men, and her family was actively looking for her. She had been reported missing by her family. And PI Steve Vischer is not done. He also claimed that several people connected to Celeste's family reached out to him, and that they said that last time they had any contact with Celeste was in July. So I don't know what this contact was, if it was a text message. That's what I'm assuming, because most girls her age like to text. They said, but Celeste wasn't discovered until September 8th, one day after her birthday, which was September 7th. And she had been listed as a missing person since 2024, you guys. So there's no way that Josh Marshall and David didn't know her real age. And there's no way they didn't know that she was missing. And there's no way they didn't know that her family was actively searching for her. So PI Steve Vischer claimed that Celeste had remained in contact with certain family members during this time. He also floated the possibility that there could be no charges brought for doing away with Celeste. I'm watching my words here. He said if Celeste had ingested a medication, something like that, and then the manager and David could say they panicked and put her in the trunk. So that's why I think there haven't been arrests yet. I do think there will be arrests at the very least for harboring a runaway, and maybe more. But so I do think those are coming. But he stated that while the manner, the COD, whether, I don't think anybody's going to say it was natural at her age, because they could have called 911 and they didn't. But the fact that she was 71 pounds in the trunk, you guys, And her family said that she weighed clocer to 120 pounds. That's a big discrepancy. We're not talking about 2 or 3 pounds of a weight loss. So what condition was she in when they put her in that trunk? So I think they're going to get toxicology. I don't know the condition of Celeste. They may have to go into the vitreous humor in her eye to get it, but I think they will get a toxicology, which could take up to 60 to 120 days to get back. But I'm going to just think that with how high profile this case is, that they're probably going to put a rush on that. But a crime absolutely happened here, in my opinion. Celeste did not climb into that trunk and put herself in pieces into plastic bags. Somebody put her in that trunk, put her in those plastic bags, and placed her in that trunk. So I still think that there are going to be charges brought. But he said that a crime doesn't absolutely happen here. He said it doesn't mean it's a homicide automatically, but she did pass away, and clearly what they did with her is horrific. So this could be why authorities have not made an arrest yet. They need a cause. They need to know what happened to her to try to figure out how she ended up passed away in the trunk of David's car. So let's talk about David's alter ego, Itami. And let me pull this up, you guys. Let me grab this video just to show you what is she talking about. So when David appears on stage, he was doing the video. Let me put this up. Yeah, let's add this one in. And he's wearing this outfit, which is the shirt with the red paint on it that is meant to show that there is some type of, he was selling these, you guys. He was selling these. And you think about who his audience is. His audience is mostly kids. So he was selling those. But who is this alter ego, and what is the significance of this, and how does it relate back to this case? So in the Resurfaced video of David's interview with Mahogany back in March, it's making the rounds online. In the video, David explains that the origin of his alter ego, which he named Itami, in his most popular song, which is Romantic Homicide. And that's the song. I can't show you the video, but he's dragging somebody is dragging a body by its heels, by its feet, and two people are putting it into the trunk while he stands there with red paint splattered all over his shirt and a blindfold on. And in the interview, David describes himself as an anime fan and said at one point he was writing his own manga series about a detective with a murderous alter ego solving the very doing away with people, I'm watching my words, that he committed. And the detective's name was Itami, which means pain in Japanese. So as I told you guys, and I told you guys, if you wanted to look this up, don't want to look this up. But if you look up gore and you look up video, put those two words together, that's what he was into, you guys. So this was his alter ego. It was a detective named Itami, which means pain in Japanese. And he said, quote, a big part of the manga was the evil version of me. So was this, a budding sociopath acting out his fantasies in his videos, thinking about what he wanted to do? Or was this just artistic expression? I would have thought it was artistic expression until Celeste ended up in the back of his Tesla. So it means pain in Japanese, and he wears a blindfold. He's basically an agent of chaos and my alter ego. This is what David said. So some noted that the resemblance of the woman in the video does resemble Celeste, and the date of its release does coincide. It was released on Celeste's birthday, which was September the 7th. And TMZ reported in a song leaked December 23rd, it was literally titled Celeste. And David does sing in that about a girl named Celeste. And the lyrics are, this is one of his lyrics from a different song. In the back of my mind, I did away with you with a K. I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's you. So that's romantic homicide that he put that in. And then the other one, oh, and this, I just wanted to say, this is from 2022, you guys. I don't know if I made that really clear when I showed you guys this yesterday. This is David. You can see the D4VD with the crown. And he says, is Celeste in here? So this is October 23rd of 2022. She was only 10 or 11 years old at this point. Maybe 12. Probably closer to 11 in 2022. And she says, hi, David. So I know he's tried to muddy the waters with a different Celeste, but she has taken a giant step back from this whole situation. She doesn't want to be associated with it. She said she just attended his concerts, but she did not ever date him. So she has absolutely taken a giant step back. She goes by the name of Cece. So let's look at the lyrics on the Celeste song. So it says, oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. I smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed. Oh, Celeste, afraid you'll only love me when I undress, but you look so damn gorgeous in that dress. Missing you makes me obsessed, but I digress. So that was not something that he put out, but it was something that was released out to the public. And it links back in with this alter ego that he used to act out in the song, where he's dragging somebody by their heels, by their feet, so their body's on the ground, so not even respectfully, to the trunk of a car. And then two people lift him in while he stands there with red splatter all over his shirt, like he did, like he did it, but with a blindfold on. And you guys, it's just so disturbing, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that. Was this alter ego actually a fantasy of his? Was he practicing? Was he acting out fantasies? Or is it possible that this was just a giant cover up, and that, he's innocent and he wasn't going to do anything at all to Celeste, and somebody framed him and put her in the trunk because they knew that he had this song out? I mean, that's what law enforcement's going to have to overcome, in my opinion, to be able to arrest him. I think he can be arrested on the other charges, though. His relationship with Celeste, the fact that they knew, and Steve Fisher, who has a license, he's a licensed private investigator, so he has a license on the line, is telling us that his manager, Josh and David, that there's no way that they can deny that they knew Celeste's age. And I do believe that the friends of David who are coming out saying they thought she was 19, that could be just a couple of people trying to save face. But it could also be they came out at the request of David to muddy the waters, and that she had fake IDs. But here's my question. If Celeste had fake IDs, who got her a 12, 13, 14-year-old? Who got her those fake IDs? She did not have the resources to have someone make fake IDs for her. So somebody got those for her. And so and the IDs are plural, but I think this is just being thrown out there, in my opinion, to muddy the waters, to try to give David a graceful way out for having his relationship. But if he thought his relationship with Celeste was okay, why was he telling his mods to delete the video and delete everything, and then delete the video? And somebody grabbed a screenshot of it. And then he's trying to pretend like he has this other Celeste, this ringer, this lookalike, and trying to pretend like this is the girlfriend. And people are just confusing Celeste Rivas with this other Celeste. But she's pushing back on that. She's pushing back on that. She said she was never David's girlfriend. She attended his concert. She was probably enamored with him and interacted with him. But she was, the other Celeste says she was never his girlfriend. So this Celeste that you see on my screen. This 13, 14-year-old is who David was interacting with. And I just think that it's very, very shady. Just like the shady movers that I showed you, with the badge on, looking all official, with a vest on, with their masks on, with a video camera. What is up with this, you guys? What is up with this video camera? Look at the vest. I had to blow it up and get in closer to just be able to see. In fact, let me make myself smaller and make this bigger so you guys can see it. Look at that. Why were they all messed up? But the most compelling thing to me is this camera. Somebody, and you can see it right here on the screen, right in front of the guy with the black t-shirt on. You can see there's a camera there. Somebody, and you can see the camera there too, just below the moving boxes in the truck. You can see the black on a tripod. That is a camera. The movers were not masked. They were not wearing masks. These two security guards were masked up. Why? Did they not want to be identified as part of the entourage? Were they in the house too? Or were they hiding whoever was really behind this camera? Because this camera with its tripod was set up for someone to watch this move out take place. Somebody wanted to make sure that something was taken out of the house. And here's another picture of David with Celeste. This is clearly not the other girl, Celeste, that he's tried to muddy the waters with after Celeste Rivas disappeared. This is Celeste Rivas. This is Celeste Rivas in this picture. This is Celeste in the same wig that David has on. And tell me she doesn't look her age. I mean, she does. And David is there with the same wig, and they have matching eyeglasses too. But then he put the other ringer in there, and I think once she realized that she was just being used. But this is also shady. Also shady. And then we found out that, we know he was traveling around the country, right? On the stage. This is his alter ego, Itami, with the shirt and the blindfold on. His evil alter ego. But if you look over here, there's the casket. So imagine you're a fan, and remember, who are his fans? They're kids, right? They're kids. So imagine you're sitting there, you're a kid, and you're in line for a concert. This is what happened. And then this hearse pulls up at the venue, and nobody says anything, and they just unload the casket. This is what he did. And then they wheel the casket on a gurney, and they wheel it inside. And the casket wasn't huge. It was smaller, like maybe for a young female. It wasn't a full-grown adult casket. Maybe they just got a smaller one because it was easier to port around. I don't know. But I do know that once Celeste was found in the trunk of his car, the casket was removed from his show on that. So I do think that's very telling also. Let me check in with you guys. I'm just curious where you guys are at on this. Really would love to know what you guys think about the Itami alter ego, about the fact that here we have her at 11, 12 years old in December of 2022, and, interacting with her. And again, he tried to muddy it with another girl named Celeste, but she's like taking a giant step back. And here we have this post where he says he doesn't like girls his age. I'm not going to say the word that he used, but that's what he put. And I just want to show you that is David making the post. Let me move myself down. You can see that is his account, D4VD. And then he posted this. He said, while I was writing this, I got a notie from you as you were talking about wanting to be with your mom and your sister again. Quote, take me where I belong. That's his quote. But our circumstances won't allow us to be in our ideal situation. We got to push through it. bro. Who is this meant for? Who did he get a notice from? Who is this for? Because I'm really suspicious about this, if this was actually for Celeste. And here's another picture of him. Let me make this bigger too. And you can see right there, that is Celeste. The Celeste, the young Celeste, not the girl that he, the ringer that he kind of put in there with the same glasses on to take pictures with. She has taken a giant step back from this man. She does not want to be involved in whatever game he is playing here, where I think he's trying to pretend that the Celeste that he was hanging around with, the Celeste that he has all these connections to, the Celeste that he has a matching wig with, the Celeste that was only 11, 12, 13 years old. You know, what type of man chooses to get involved with a child? Let me check in with chat. I feel bad. I'm like, I don't mean to ignore chat. I want to do a poll. I want to know if you guys think, I believe that arrests are coming, whether they're coming because of his relationship with Celeste, or if they're coming related to her being found in the trunk of his car. I don't know who's in the house, but somebody is going to go down for what happened to this little girl. Somebody is going down for this. Somebody is going down. This isn't going to just go away on its own, in my opinion. So let me know, put a 1 in the chat if you think that arrests will be coming as soon as they get the toxicology back. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that he will get, that nobody will be held accountable for what happened to her. And this will just simply be swept under the rug, like we've seen so many other times, you guys. So many other times where we've seen cases like this where, nothing does happen to the perpetrator. Nothing comes of it. So I'm just really curious where you guys are at. Let's take a couple of comments. Come on in. If you're watching, come on up and talk to me. Tell me where you're from. Okay, so the age, this went on over a period of years. So on the one that I showed you guys, this post right here where he's asking about Celeste is, you can see October 23rd of 2022. Now she would have been 15 this year. But I don't think she lived to be her birthday, September the 7th. So this was 3 years ago. So 14, 13, 12. And she was 14, I believe, at the age that, that she was done away with. But again, that weight discrepancy, you guys, of 71 pounds versus 71 pounds is what the weight of this girl. And let me just see if I have a full body shot of her. I think I do. Yeah, there she is. That is not a 71-pound frame. Okay, that is not a 71-pound frame. That is not somebody who weighs 71 pounds. Her family estimated they thought she weighed closer to 120 pounds. That makes more sense. She looks like she's at a healthy weight for her age. So why were her remains? Why are we being told they only weighed 71 pounds? What happened? Was not everything together? Or is there something more nefarious going on here? Because this girl didn't weigh 71 pounds. So we have a discrepancy there also. Enja says, thank you so much for modding today, Donna and Enja. Enja says, he knew her for a couple of years, allegedly. Right. We have the video. That's why I wanted to show you that TikTok video of them together where he says to delete that. And let me just see what year that was, if I have a year handy. That's this one. Let me pull this down. And this is, the two of them. And this is where, he tells his mods to delete it. Delete the live stream. Delete all of it. So what's up with that? Why do we have to delete this? And you can see that is not the ringer that he's been parading around the other girl who's now taken a giant step back from him. That is Celeste. And they even have matching glasses, you guys. So matching tattoos, which are Shhh, which I believe was a pact where they agreed to be quiet and they tattooed it. Shh. Don't tell anybody about this relationship. And then we have matching glasses. Really, really, absolutely crazy. But this girl right here, she did not weigh 71 pounds. At least not at this point. So what's up with the weight discrepancy? Because something is wrong. Something is terribly, terribly wrong, in my opinion. Tanya said they might have told him what to do after he did what he did. I don't think anybody did it other than him. Hey, Jody. Thanks for joining me today. Come on in and tell me where you're from. I did a poll. I just want to see what the results are on that poll. So I'm looking for 1s and 2s. Okay, so we have 1, 1. Tanya said, I think the new Celeste came after the little girl Celeste, she's calling her baby Celeste, that's the 13-year-old, 14-year-old, passed away. Yeah, and I think she realized the new Celeste was realized she was being used and put a stop. She put a stop to it. She says she was never his girlfriend. She has said that publicly now. Patty says no, she doesn't think anyone will be held accountable. Tanya thinks David will be held accountable. 1. Sugar says he knew her since she was 11. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sugar. That's really helpful. So Tanya said every year he put a song out for her birthday. This year he makes sure she was found passed away around her birthday. Oh, wow. So it almost sounds like you think that maybe, who did call in this car? Oh, and then Theron also put in a 1. I have some other information on that as well. So let's talk about that. Because we've had a lot of questions about whether the trunk smelled or didn't smell. Because remember, Steve Fisher said he spoke to neighbors and they said that they didn't smell anything in the trunk. And I told you guys that I thought that most likely what happened was when that tow truck lifted up that car, remember she was in the front trunk of that Tesla. When the tow truck lifted up the front of that car, she was in plastic bags. It would have moved things around. I think something came unwrapped. And by the time they got it to the impound lot, it was employees at the impound lot. They're the ones that called police because they smelled, something terrible. And they were, sounding the alarm that there was something wrong here. So that is what happened. So that explains that. I do want to look together. Let's do this really quick. I want to look at the Tesla cameras on the car, because this Tesla should be able to tell us everything. So let's look at that together. Let me take this down and let me put this up instead. Okay, make sure I've added that, and let me move myself out of the way. That's nice and big. Okay, so let's look at the cameras on this car together. So a camera is mounted on the grill above the front bumper. So right here, there's a camera mounted. And this should have captured, unless the cameras were manually disabled. Because remember that guy that was going around just keying all the Teslas in the parking lot? And they have all these cameras. There's a camera here, 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 2 up here, 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 and here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cameras on this car. So this Tesla should be able to tell police the story of who put her in the trunk, unless someone manually disabled those cameras, and when. But it also should be able to say, when she rode in the car last. So a camera's mounted above the front grille of the front bumper. That should very, very easily capture whoever walked out with her and put her into the trunk. It's also mounted on the rear license plate. So even if someone came out this way and around, the car should be able to tell law enforcement who manually disabled it. It's a really smart vehicle. It's mounted on each door pillar. 2 cameras are mounted to the windshield above the rear view mirror. You can see those are right here and right here. And then there's 2 more up here. And a camera is mounted to each front fender. And that's the one right here. So the front bumper and the front fender. And then we have this back as well. And then in the Tesla, there are more cameras. So there is a front-facing camera. And to display the view of the front-facing camera, so that should be able to say definitively, if somebody did manually disable this car should be able to tell law enforcement who disabled the cameras, if they were disabled. If they weren't disabled, this car will be the smoking gun evidence that the prosecution needs. So the drive to calibrate cameras, it can maneuver with precision when autopilot features are being used. So really, really cool car, lots of cameras. So lots of evidence, in my opinion. I think it's going to be really hard for somebody to wriggle out of this and be like, oh, well, we just didn't know. Sorry, not sorry. We didn't know about the cameras. And, we think that Royal says, I don't think Celeste is the real name of the second girl. No, my understanding is that she goes by the name of Cece, and that, she was just somebody that went to his concerts. She says she never dated him. She was never his girlfriend. Malcolm, his motive is she saw too much. Right. I think the motive definitely is we have a rising, budding music career, and this relationship worked for him. And a couple of things happened. One, she got older and became more mature. Right? She, became more mature. She went from looking like this. Let me move myself down. This to looking, let me move myself even smaller. She went looking like from this to looking, a little more mature. So I think if somebody is really attracted to somebody that, looks like a child, like this, as she began to mature, he would have become less and less attracted to her. So I think that is part of the reason why this happened. But I also think that it's more nefarious than just that. I do think that we had a budding career, and I think that she saw too much, she knew too much. And this Shhh pact, whatever this was about, these tattoos, which I believe was a pact where she probably agreed not to tell. That's why she was wearing glasses and a hoodie and to cover herself up. And to me, again, that's more proof that he knew she was a runaway. He knew her family was looking for him. So not just what Steve says, but also the video. So I agree with you, Malcolm. Yeah, please don't write it in all caps, you guys. Just that tells the algorithm. It tells the algorithm that you're mad. Sabrina said, not any longer. My older children have their own homes now. I have left home. She is 10. Donna, I don't know. I can't put that up on the screen, but I can see your comment. I don't know if there was any type of medication use. I can tell you this. I don't think it's a good combination, in my opinion, to have a 12, 13, 14-year-old in a house with fully grown males. And I say males plural because Josh Marshall, the manager, was living there too. And if somebody wanted to set David up, that would be a pretty good way to do it, right? I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm, just throwing it out there. So Tanya said, I wonder why I think those cameras are not going to show you anything. I bet they disabled them. Well, hopefully the car itself will say who disabled the camera. So sometimes the cover up can be just as telling as the crime. If you think back to the Brian Kohlberger case, what did he do? He disabled his phone during the time of the crimes, but it almost looked worse because his phone was on and pinging and on and pinging. And just at the time of the crimes, that's when a nearly fully charged phone was placed and it was switched off, not just put into airplane mode, but manually turned off. So this car is going to be able to say who turned it off, hopefully, and when. So I think the car is going to be an important piece of evidence. And Tizirus, I hope I'm saying your name. It says apparently there's cameras you can't disable. Let me look that up for you guys. That's a great. Can you disable all of them? Let's look that up. It does look like you can disable them. Let me take this down. Let me put this up. Let's look at that together. Let me move myself out of the way. All right. So you can disable these. Let's look at that. You can turn them off. Before turning off your Tesla cameras, it's crucial to understand how they function and their significance. What cameras are integrated into a Tesla? The Tesla vehicle is equipped with multi-cameras strategically placed around the car to provide a 360-degree view. These include the front-facing camera, the rear-view camera, the side cameras, the fisheye cameras. So these cameras not only improve driving safety, but also enhance features like autopilot and full self-driving. Why you might want to turn the cameras off, there are several reasons. Privacy concerns in certain situations. Well, I do think that may have applied here. And then technical troubleshooting. And then there's a step-by-step guide. I'd love to know if anybody in that house, in that mansion that David was living in, if anybody looked up, we know that a computer was taken. Did anybody look up how to disable this camera? And was David at home when this was looked up? Turning off your cameras in Tesla is a straightforward process. Please note that it may impact certain features of your vehicle, such as autopilot and Sentry mode. And then it gives you a step-by-step on how to disable it. Disable the dash cam feature. Temporarily disable autopilot features. Disable Sentry mode. So, and then you can re-enable the cameras. So did somebody turn them off, load up the trunk, and then re-enable? And if so, who did it? Did anybody search for these directions on how to do it? But it does say that disabling the camera in your Tesla is a decision that comes with both advantages and disadvantages. So it is absolutely possible that somebody did disable this camera, you guys. The cameras on this vehicle. It is very, very, very possible. All right. So let me take a couple more comments. I do want to put Celeste up here. There she is. Okay. And Theron saying police took his laptop. Yeah, that's my understanding too. They did exit. I just wonder if there were any more electronics in that house when did the mover show up to get those? Caddy said, I know his dad is an attorney. His dad is going to represent him. No, his dad is not a lawyer. I back up the chat. I went through exactly, but his dad does work with lawyers. So I do think he has connections to lawyers. I think this is why we haven't heard anything from David. But my understanding is David does have attorneys that are going to represent him. Tanya said, as I stated in his shorts, you can see her laying on his bed in the hotel room. Oh, wow. That's really sad. But hopefully law enforcement has a copy of that. Did he skip town? Well, he was out of town touring. When she was found, he was on tour, and he was singing. But right now, he, to my knowledge, he has not skipped town. And some people think that this could have been a big setup, because I think it's going to just depend on when she was put into the trunk. But some people feel like, David was set up by someone in the house. I think, remember, there was more than one grown man living in that house. And if you've known anything about predatory behavior, is that a 12, 13, 14-year-old is not safe in the house if there are people that are enabling a predator. And, in my opinion, allegedly, I do think that David was having an inappropriate relationship with Celeste. At the very least, I believe he was. This is just my opinion. He's innocent. He hasn't been charged with anything. But there could have been somebody else in that house too that was not only enabling it, but was, in on it. Was she being passed around? Tanya said, you'll have to remember that his manager has children, so he probably wasn't staying there. He was renting it, and David lived there the most. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Where is her phone? I don't know. And I'm wondering if that's why we had to have these masked movers come. I think that there was evidence that came out of that house. I mean, these guys are dressed up in masks with a camera running. And this guy has a badge on with a security vest. I had to blow it up because I'm like, with sunglasses and a mask. It's Los Angeles. It's September. It's not cold out. I mean, it must have been sweltering under all of this, but he still had it on. Why? And who was watching behind this camera? Look at this guy. Baseball cap, mask. He doesn't have the vest and the badge on. But who was this camera that you can see right there? Who was watching on the other end of the camera? And what were they wanting to see out of the house? Was there more electronics? Where was her phone? Tanya wants to know, where's her phone? Well, maybe law enforcement didn't get the phone. Maybe it was in there. So how would you cover up something like that? Well, you would say, you're moving out. I'm moving out now. And the landlord, the lease wasn't up because the landlord told the news outlets that they broke the lease. So what would make you break the lease? It could have been lack of funds, but it also could have been a way to try to get things that they know law enforcement didn't get out of the house securely. And I believe that that is the reason. And that's why this camera was running, because somebody was sitting at the other end of this camera wanting to know what was getting loaded up on that truck, in my opinion. I don't know who, but somebody. I do want to say thank you to NJAS for gifting this reporter room membership. Thank you so, so much for that. That is very, very kind of you. And thank you for the other gifted membership. If you got a gifted membership from NJAS, please make sure you say thank you to her. That is so nice of you. I want to say thank you to Donna for the $4.99 super sticker. That is so kind of you. Thank you so, so much, Donna. I really, really appreciate it. I am very, very grateful. And thank you so much, NJAS, for the 20 pounds. Wow. Thank you so much for the 20 pounds super sticker. That is very, very kind of you. So if you got a gifted membership, it did come from NJAS, who is one of our head mods. Bry says, I think it's pretty, I think you're saying damning against David that Celeste was discovered, and assuming that he and Celeste were still a couple, he just continued to tour on stage. Yeah. I mean, he didn't come home. It's true. He didn't come home. He stayed on tour. And I just like wonder, like, what was up with that? Why wouldn't you come back? Why not put out a statement at least? My understanding is the only adjustment, there was 2 adjustments that were made. One is that where they, you know how you go to a music concert and people start shouting encore, 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 and then the musician comes back and they'll play like 3 or 4 more songs as an encore, and everybody's yay. That didn't happen. So there was no encore in Minnesota, at least. He just ran across the stage reportedly and just said, "Thank you, Minnesota." But nobody was shouting for an encore. Now, maybe, people, like, stuff was starting to come out and people didn't feel like, weren't sure they wanted to have an encore. I don't know. Or maybe he didn't want to do an encore, but nobody asked for one. And my understanding is the casket also disappeared. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Dory. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you found your way to Reporter Room. If you are watching and you haven't subscribed, it's free and it does help me out. Giving a thumbs up helps me out. It's also free. There's so many ways you can support Reporter Room, and just those 2 things alone are so helpful. I really do appreciate it. It lets the algorithm know that I'm doing a responsible job covering this case. So I do believe that arrests are coming. I do believe that somebody is going to be held accountable, at the very least, minimally, for the way that what they did with her, which is put her in the trunk of the car. Minimally that, but I think it's going to be more expensive than that. I think we are going to have harboring a runaway, harboring a minor. I mean, she was in a hoodie and glasses on that live stream that I showed you, that he asked everybody, asked his mods to delete. So she's wearing big glasses and a hoodie, definitely trying to hide her identity. And then I think sometimes the cover up is worse than the crime, because why would he have felt the need to have this other Celeste, right? The 2 Celeste. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys too. Why would he feel the need to have a ringer come into it? Let me see if I can find a picture of the other Celeste really quick. She does look like her. And then but she has said she has backed off. She has said that she is not his girlfriend. She never was his girlfriend, according to her. So why did he feel the need to have a ringer come out and try to, I think it was an effort to confuse it, just like with the IDs. We have friends coming forward. Well, this little teenager did not get her own ID. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Oh, I'm getting all kinds of pop-ups. All right, let's see. There we go. Let me take this down and let me put this up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So all the wild rumors about David that just aren't true, what's actually true. This is his alter ego, the Tommy alter ego with the blindfold on, although he doesn't have the blood on his shirt. But the other girl that was supposed to be Celeste, I don't think looks that much like her, but similar hair, similar length. Now remember the photo that circulated with his brother at his concert with somebody that we thought was maybe Celeste? Well, apparently that was she goes by the name of Cece. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I think that she was brought in my opinion, to distract from the fact that he was, having interactions with this Celeste. Tanya, did you send it where? Did you send it to my email? I do have an email, you guys, if you want to send me stuff. Let me see if I have it handy. Yeah, I do. This is my email address. It's tips, TIPS, the number 4, and my name, Jessica, at outlook.com. If you want to send me something, that's my email address. You can email me if you have tips in this case, if you have something you want me to look into, if you have another case you want me to cover, feel free to send me an email. And let's see. Yeah, then Jess has it up. You can email me at tipsforjessica@outlook.com. This is our head mod. And Jess, thank you so much for modding today. My 5605 says, I've been wondering if having older friends that look like Celeste so she could use their IDs. I don't know. But yeah, I think somebody definitely helped her get them. She didn't. I'll put it this way. A 13-year-old is not going to know probably or have the resources to be able to get a good fake ID. If this is even true. Kim says he had to know something happened to her because I'm sure they would be talking on the phone every day. I agree. Hey, good to see you. Mrs. Italy said, does anyone think it's possible that he left the Celeste at the house with the car and that she came across the wrong person and they left her in it? Yeah, I mean, I think it is possible. And if you wanted to set up David for it, I think it's, they're going to work from the inside out. But if you even think back, to Brian Kohlberger, that was a stranger. So yeah, definitely stuff can happen. But I do think that this part is what I don't think is disputable, which is that there was something going on with this Celeste and David. Will law enforcement be able to approve it? I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to prove it or not. But I do think there was something definitely going on with this Celeste and David, in my opinion. So thank you so much for being here. All right, guys, any more questions? I feel free to come up. If you're watching this on TV, come on up and talk to me. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, Dory. How did she end up at 71 pounds? Or if it wasn't him, was there, was there somebody else in the house? Like, what was going on? Like, how did we get from this healthy girl, which is definitely not 71 pounds, to what we're being reported, unless it was a mistake and somebody, reported out an error. That's possible. That can happen. Human error. But if it's, if what they found, who they found, not what, but who they found, which is Celeste in the car, weighed 71 pounds. Was something missing? Was she getting enough to eat? What was really going on? Was it something more nefarious? What do you guys think? Tinker said they said she was very malnourished. Well, that's really disturbing. That's really disturbing. We'll have to wait and see. Well, we're going to find out more. There's going to be more tomorrow, more for the next few days. And I think although they, said 60 plus days on the toxicology, I think there will be a rush on it. I think we will learn more. I think law enforcement's going to want to get this wrapped up. My 5605 says, was it? Yeah, we don't know. Loss of fluid. These are all questions that we don't have the answers to, but hopefully we will find out in the next few days. So I'm going to continue to follow this case. I have another live stream scheduled for tomorrow. I have it scheduled for 6. And if there's no breaking news, we'll go at 6. But if there's breaking news, obviously I'll go early. So please make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. I do want to say thank you to our producers, Njaz, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, and Christy Ballantyne. And thank you to all of our channel members for supporting me while we cover this case. I really, really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. And I do want to take a few more comments. If you want to keep dropping me comments, how do you guys think? Please watch your words, like what words you use so you don't get stuck in the YouTube filter. But how do you guys think that she ended up as 71 pounds? Was that just a typo? Did somebody goof up? Or is there something that we don't know? Some piece of this puzzle that we don't know? We've heard that she was in pieces and put into separate bags. So we know she didn't climb into the trunk by herself. So was there something missing that caused the weight change? I'm really curious what you guys think. And I also want to do thanks. This is for the last live stream for super thanks and coffee gratitude. And also thank you so much for your gifted channel memberships, NJazz and NJazz. So if you got one of those gifted channel memberships, thank you so much, NJazz. Jody says, I heard she was 102, that she weighed 102 pounds, and then what they got was around 70 pounds. And so I heard just slightly different. So again, this could just be an error. This, I heard that they got 71 pounds and that her family was estimating 120, but I think the 102 makes more sense. That does make more sense in a hot car. Yeah, definitely. Tanya said, no, it's posted right there. Click on it. I don't see it, Tanya. I'm not sure what you mean by right there. In the top chat, I don't see it. Maybe the filter filtered it out. Sometimes if it's a link and the filter doesn't know what it is, but you can email it to me, okay? Bree, is it Bree or Bry? Bry Music says, what I also find strange is that he leaked his love song for Celeste. Well, I don't know if he leaked it or somebody did. And again, if you wanted to set up David, so I just, this is what, because he was out of town when the car was found. And people are like, well, would he be dumb enough? I mean, if you think back, what was the movie Basic Instinct, right? You think back to Basic Instinct, which is just a film. It's probably still out there. Let me see if I can just find a picture of it. Let me see. Here's the Wikipedia page. But if you think back to the film Basic Instinct, her alibi in Basic Instinct was that why would she write a book about a crime that she was going to commit, right? It was with Sharon Stone and, let me see, Michael, I don't know his last name, Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone did the film. And it was a really big hit. But what she, her alibi was that she wrote a book. And then you find out at the end of the movie that she actually did do it. So did somebody, set him up? This is what, people were wondering. Leaked the song Celeste that he had written but had never released? Or is there something else going on here? Yeah, that's what I heard too, Caddy. Very, very bad. Darren said, that much of weight loss she probably passed last year. That could be too. Jody said, all the innuendos, songs, and vids are suspicious. Oh yeah, the very, very, very strange. If you guys didn't see the video, I'm not going to go through it all right now, but I did a whole video, a whole live stream yesterday with like all of the things I went through, like all of the stuff, like this purse and the fact that there are pictures of this purse online, all of the lyrics on the songs. I went through everything yesterday in the video, all his posts, all of this I went through. This is another thing that, people have been jumping on. And it's David, you can see his name, D4VD. Are you happily married? Sophia's asking him that. And he said, me, and he deleted the user, got a kid on the way. I don't know if that's true or not. It could just be, he was making a joke or something like that. But this is really, he was selling these shirts. And most of the people in his audience are kids. So I don't know, but he was selling these shirts, and this is his alter ego. When he puts on a blindfold and puts on a shirt like this, that's his alter ego, Tommy, who is his evil persona. So, I just wondered, was there something going on here that we don't know? How was Celeste being treated? Is this guy a sociopath? I've seen people ask that, wondering, is what we're looking at as artistic license. Is this somebody who really doesn't like women? And that's why, he was attracted to a 12, 13, 14-year-old. I don't think she ever saw ever became 15. Jody says somebody could have taken advantage of her if they had access to the car. Yeah, that's true. Tinker says, I think he has severe mental health issues. Maybe he's not taking his meds also. Yeah, Basic Instinct. That's why I wanted to show you guys what it was, because it is an old movie, but I saw it. It's around. I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw it on one of the I streamed it. Darren says the song called Ghosts and Afterlife was dropped 5 months ago. Oh, wow. Very, very interesting. Oh, yeah, the cutting the meat. If you guys didn't see the TikTok video, that's very disturbing too. What he says and the fact that he's cutting meat is very, very disturbing. In fact, I'll get that for the next live stream if you want. Tinker said they said she would delete her account so they couldn't trace it back to her. That's really sad. Donna said, I'm glad I'm not a kid anymore in this world these days. Yeah. So dark. Yeah, I think he is very dark. And what we, we're probably seen as being artistic choices really did end up being something much darker, in my opinion. And just says something is very wrong in this case, in my opinion. Tinker says she was sold a dream and it definitely didn't plan out that way she thought it would. Yeah, I agree. I mean, she probably thought, I believe that she was not running away from her family. The fact that they were hearing from her and they had heard from her in July of 2025, probably a text message or something like that, maybe. But, for all we know, if it was a text message, just like in the Brian Laundrie case where he was posing as Gabby and texting her parents, if it was a text message, we don't know who was on the other end of that. We just don't know. But maybe they saw her. Jody said, I think maybe the family was receiving hush money. That has gone around. I'm urging caution there because I feel like it's kind of like the ID situation where it could be true. But if it's not true, it's just going to harm a family that just, was actively looking for her. And I showed you guys her aunt's post with all the pictures. I mean, they were actively looking for her. So I don't know. I guess that's my answer to that. I don't know. Bride says, it's hard for me to believe that others are involved based off of the consequences that others would have to face. And you'd have to assume they're crazy enough to help. That's true. There's another motive. She's always talking about him online, blowing their relationship secrets. Yeah. And I think that's what that shush was all about. That tattoo with the shush, right? It was a secret. That's why we got that cryptic message that I showed you earlier in the live. And if you guys don't know, you can back up the live to look at it. Yeah, what he says is very disturbing, Jody. How do you get so popular so fast? Okay, so how he came into, let me talk about David for a few seconds. I know a little bit about his story. So how he came to be was he was actually a YouTuber and he was playing a game called Fortnite. And he kept getting copyright claims on his videos and copyright strikes because he was using music, I guess, from pop stars. That's what he liked. And so his mom suggested that he make his own music. So he originally started making his own music. He says he used his sister's closet and he went in there because the clothes gave him good acoustics and he was using his iPhone to record. And he has a really, really nice voice. And he started making his own music and then ended up, he offered other gamers, hey, if you want to use my music for free, you can. I won't copyright strike you. So his other people began using his music and his name started to get out there. His music started picking up steam. And pretty soon, his Spotify downloads were exceeding the views he was getting on YouTube. And he was also doing on TikTok, he was doing, I think they call it Tom and Jerry, where they take music and they make it fast. This was going on back in 2020, 2021. It was really popular. If you look up Tom and Jerry and TikTok, and if you want, I can deep dive this more. But he was doing that and doing vocals on that too. And he really started taking off and people did like his music. And I can see, if you think back at like Lady Gaga and some of the stuff she put out, that could also be considered artistic choices. And Lady Gaga never had anybody found in her trunk. So I think when people originally saw him, with this casket coming in at the beginning of the concerts, and he's, wearing this, this blindfold and, the shirts, and he's, selling them, it probably looked like just kind of cool, an artistic choice, until Celeste ended up in the back of his trunk. And Jody's saying, please give this a thumbs up. Yeah, please do. It helps me. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. And it does help me out with the algorithm. Lori thinks they were both jealous. Mike says, this is why you need you to keep track of the apps that your children visit online. You're right, Mike. Absolutely. Bren says, approximately 7 months ago, or where did it go wrong seems to be the turning point in his music. Yeah, and I think you're right. And then his first big viral hit was the Romantic Homicide song. Brent says, where'd it go wrong? Red String Theory over Celeste lookalike. For the Red String Theory, what I think they're talking about is are you talking about the red string with where it's like fate? Tempting fate, is that what you're talking about, Bren? Where some people believe that your pinkies are locked with like a red string. Yeah, please don't use all caps. It hurts me with the algorithm. Lori said, did you notice the scratches on both of his cheeks? No, I didn't. Let me look. Which one? I didn't. I haven't seen any recent pictures of him. But if you guys have one and you want to send it to me, send it to me. I'll enhance it. But I don't see anything on his cheeks. When for the photos that I've had, I didn't notice anything. But it, could just be from performing too. I don't know. Red says, red string theory is relevant because of the core of his philosophy, connect and disconnect. All right, let me pull that up. Because if it's relevant, we need to know about it. So let's look at I do remember him doing that interview talking about red string theory. Let me see if this will let me. All right. Let's go with Neuro Launch. And I think there's a Medium article too. So let's start with that. Let me take this down. Let's dive into that because that is his philosophy. And I do think it could be relevant here. All right. Let me move myself out of the way. Okay. So the invisible thread, understanding red string theory. So this is David's philosophy, and I do remember him talking about this. So this is what they believe. In the existence of humans, there are ancient beliefs about individuals that are bound together by a red thread. At the heart of this theory lies the idea that certain encounters are not mere coincidences. And remember, the shush was red ink too, you guys. I don't know if that's related or not. But so certain encounters are not mere coincidences, but rather predestined meetings guided by this ethereal string. Look around you right now. Look at the sea of people in front of you. Look at the surroundings wherever you go in crowded places, whether it be the mall, the park, or even a public subway. Those places may seem like normal go-to spots, but they could be where your destined partner lies. According to the theory better known as red string theory, we are born with an invisible red string tied to our pinky finger. I do remember him talking about this in an interview. One end is attached to us and the other is attached to the other person. That person is your soulmate. No matter the time, the place, or the circumstances, you will always be tied to each other with an interesting story yet to unfold. So it doesn't mean it's a good story. It just means it's an interesting story. But at the end of the day, you've been destined for one another. That person could simply be the people you make eye contact with daily, or the people that pass by in the hallway of your school or workplace. And it could be anyone, anytime, anywhere. And that's how magical this theory is. Just as magical as watching Barbie as a kid for the first time. It sounds like whoever wrote this liked Barbie. When you look around, you might think of that person. And you will see a red string connects you both. And so that is a philosophy that he did believe in. Now, here's another one. Let me take this down. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Bren. Let me take this down for a second. All right, so this is the other one that we can go through together. Red string theory and psychology, exploring connections and relationships. They're saying it's a crimson thread. And again, the shush was red, right? The red ink. And this was his philosophy that he was talking about. Invisible to the eye weaves the tapestry of human relationships, binding us together in ways that psychology seeks to unravel through the intriguing lens of red string theory. This captivating concept, rooted in ancient folklore and modern psychological thought, offers a unique perspective on the connections that shape our lives and experiences. So did Celeste think with this red inked shush, did she think that she was, somehow fated to be with David? Did he think that he was somehow fated to be with her? But thank you so much for bringing that up, Bryn. Bryce says, if musicians' art was an admission of guilt, Marilyn, yeah, right, exactly. I mean, if you think back on, didn't Lady Gaga like show up in like a raw meat dress back in the day too, right? So, I mean, that's why I'm saying if you wanted to set somebody up, this would be a good way to do it. Lori said, some concerts. But I do think he's a prime suspect. And matching fingernails. Yeah, he had fingernail polish in some of them. I do think he is the prime suspect. That doesn't mean he did it. He's innocent until proven guilty. He has not been charged with anything. But I do think that this is going to be a problem for him. I think explaining this relationship and what went on is going to be a problem for him. And Jess says, there is a picture of him with scratches. We'll try and find it and send it to you. Thank you so much, Jess. Mike said, did you watch the interview of the mother of one of Celeste's ex-boyfriends? Yes, I did see that today. I thought about sharing it, but I wasn't sure if it was legit or not. I've seen people insert themselves into cases like this. And because I didn't conduct the interview myself, it was just something that I saw on Reddit. I just decided I just wanted to see if anybody could vet out if she actually is the one mother. Because if you think back on the Brian Koberger case, for those of you that followed that one, WSU Kim, and I don't know if she was legit or not legit. I have no idea. But she kind of came on the scene with all these claims, and I didn't platform her either because I couldn't vet her out unless she was going to, show me who her daughter was. So I haven't platformed that until I can find out that until somebody can confirm, like maybe a family member of Celeste, that this is the mother of one of her boyfriends. Dystopic Society said she was allowed to go on tour. So where was she? At the house alone, sleeping in the car, or with someone else? Great questions. These are really good questions. These are really good questions, you guys. This is why I love interacting with you. I love interacting with you guys. Yeah, where was she? I mean, why wasn't she at his? And he's saying his shush was black. No idea what that means. Nikki said the same thing about Brian Koberger. Yeah, exactly. Nikki says Ariana Grande has a shush tattoo. Yeah, I've seen a couple of other people too. But I do think it's interesting that Celeste had one and David had one. I do think that it is significant. And I just do wonder if it was some type of an agreement, some type of pact that was made there. It could just be a popular tattoo that they thought was cool too. It could just be a nothing burger. Darren said, David is that sick to think that we think this is a brilliant art he's doing in front of our eyes. How ironic he puts out these songs on her birthday. Yeah. And this time she's found one day after her birthday, right? One day after. It's very, very sad. Very sad. Well, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. I am going to be live streaming again tomorrow night. So I will look up some of these things that you guys brought up and be looking for any new and breaking information. I do expect to have breaking information, breaking news tomorrow. I'm planning to live stream at 6, but I'll go early if we have breaking news. So please make sure you have hit the notification bell. Subscribing is free and it helps me out a lot.